Apparently, has been approved for pro wrestling fans by the creators of the Angle Podcast.
Oh, wrestling fans! Clap for the Angle Podcast!
The Angle Podcast.
Angle Podcast.
Angle Podcast.
The Angle Podcast.
The Angle Podcast.
It's the Angle Podcast! How exciting!
Welcome, everyone, back to a brand new edition of the Angle Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joey Karni, and if you haven't already, please like and subscribe down below. Now, my guest today brings the mayhem to Impact Wrestling. He's the only man in pro wrestling to have served as a Marine, but also as a Knight. Now, his matches are as intense as hell, and after Victory Road, you can say his name will be etched in history forever, being forgotten no more. Please welcome a fellow Jersey boy, Steve Maclin. How are you? And welcome to the show.
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate the time and all the things that go into making these things happen. So to kind of begin here, a little over a year ago, you signed with Impact Wrestling. And before doing so, what was your perception of the company, and has that changed since then?
From my look at Impact, obviously my soon-to-be wife, Deonna Purrazzo, Virtuosa, she was there, and I was watching weekly with her, and she was doing a watch-along on Twitch. And it was one of those shows I was like, wow, this is really good, like from beginning to end. And I don't think Impact gets the credit enough weekly for the show that the product puts out. And just from top to bottom with this roster, it's just getting better every time since I've been here. And I like to say I helped into that and create that buzz a little bit as well going into Vic Road. I've enjoyed it since, and even every week that I do watch it on Thursdays to watch everything going on, I enjoy it.
Yeah, and since you came to Impact Wrestling, there really has been a lot of buzz around your name, just because you're putting on fantastic matches, but it's always building towards something. You're always involved in a major storyline. Is that something that you thought about when you came to Impact, that you would be in such significant matches?
That's the one thing I've had the opportunity with, and Impact's given me, is being able to be in those creative storylines. And that's the one thing I never got to sink my teeth in my time in NXT and WWE. Yeah, was just getting into it and staying figured in and how to work and just kind of weave through different scenarios with different people. And it's been fun with Jonathan Gresham, with me and Trey Miguel at Hard to Kill, beating Chris Sabin and Jay White at Rebellion this past year. And it's been a lot of fun creatively for me. And it's been fun to just sink my teeth into things and find me while doing it.
Yeah. And, during the latest storyline that you're involved in with Moose and Sami Callihan, there's been great debate around the idea of yourself being on the same page with Moose, going back and forth. Now, you do have an honorary background, like we talked about before, the Brotherhood, serving as a Marine and being a part of previous wrestling groups. Does it affect your mindset having people question where you stand?
No, I love it. I love keep making people guess. And that's the best part about me, is like, you never know what I'm going to do. And there always is a greater plan. Yeah, I always have that in mind. It's about me, but it's how I'm going to get to what I want. And that's the Impact World title. So there's a plan, believe me.
And, with the upcoming matches and events coming up on September 23rd at Victory Road, you are set to compete in the 5th ever Barbed Wire Massacre. First off, how do you prepare for such a match, but let alone it being a triple threat with Sami Callihan and Moose?
I've been going back and watching some of the old Barbed Wire Massacres, and the way it looks is there's really no way to prepare for it other than knowing that our bodies are going to be cut, be beat up, and mangled a little bit after this. It's going to take some time off our career probably, but that's kind of the mindset going in, is not being scared or fearing what's going to happen, and just knowing that I can control what I can. And being in there with Sami and Moose, and both being world champions, one being the death machine and one being a so-called wrestling god. I have a lot to prove in myself at Victory Road this coming September 23rd.
And the Barbed Wire Massacre match in Impact is a pretty prestigious one. It's only happened. This will be the 5th time that it happens. And the previous ones before have featured legends like Sabu and Abyss. What does it mean to have your name added to that such like selective group of people in this match?
Just that's one of those things I never really look at those of lists. Like I appreciate what's been done before me, but now it's just kind of looking to the future. And it's going to be the same when someone else is doing an interview like this for the 10th Barbed Wire Massacre match. What was it like being with Steve Maclin? It's one of those things that never really I think of. It's just I'm going to do what I have to do to get the job done at Victory Road, and that's beat Sami Callihan and Moose.
And it should be noted that in the last 4 of the Barbed Wire Massacre matches, Sami Callihan has been in the last 2 of them. Moose also doesn't have the best track record of staying true, to his alliances, as we've seen previously on Impact. Are these things that play a role in your preparation or really getting yourself in the correct mindset for these type of matches?
Yeah, we are in a world of sport and competition in pro wrestling, so you have to know your opponents inside and out. And I know Moose could turn on me in an instant, but then what's going to say I don't turn on Moose? You always have to have that in the back of your mind. I'd rather be stabbed in the front than stabbed in the back, so I'll see it coming.
Yeah.
But with Sami really lives up to the name of Death Machine, and he has the experience in these types of matches. And this is his playground of barbed wire, and he has been in these previously. So it's just one up in him and knowing what he can do and what he's willing to do, and knowing that I'm willing to go further.
And this match, it's being labeled, it's being marketed as such a huge match on the card. But there is no specific prize on the line. In your mind, what is the prize for winning this match? Is it being just the best out of these, these other athletes, or is it kind of self-proclaiming yourself as the next #1 contender?
It could be a self-proclaiming, but that means I beat 2 former world champions, one in Moose, which I've already done in the Elimination Gauntlet a few weeks back. And then with Sami Callihan, I finally get to end this feud with him and beat another world champion. Yeah.
And like we've been talking about a little here and there, since coming to Impact, you've been on a streak of destruction, some would say. And on a few occasions already, you've come so close to claiming gold, whether that be the X Division title and most recently the world title. Is there a set target for you within Impact Wrestling? Is there a specific title that you're after?
The Impact World title that Josh Alexander currently holds. And I hope there comes a time when Josh and I do face. I hope he holds on to that title when the time comes being for me to challenge for it. Just if not, then I guess he'll be there at some point in the road. But that Impact World title is my goal. I don't know why you would be in this business other than whatever company you're in. Yep. You're going title.
Of course. And, you kind of touched on your time in NXT and WWE before, being a part of a group, the Forgotten Sons. Is there a transition you have to go through either mentally to kind of get yourself from being in a group to being in a tag team to being a singles competitor, kind of heading yourself to the main event scene?
No, just because Blake and I, for the longest time, were brothers and we always support each other. Whether he was succeeding on his own or us together. And it's the same for me as well. And that's one of those things where we both pick each other up and we support each other. So no matter what we have to do to get the job done, to be a world champion, to be a tag team champion, we always took care of each other. And the mindset doesn't change. It's just, we're going to put our full effort in. That's why we were the way we were as a tag team. And for how underrated people say we were, we worked hard. And that was the one thing that we always took pride in. And that's what got us to succeed and get to Smack.
I have to agree with that, with being that, being claimed as underrated, because Forgotten Sons was one of, I think, the most underrated teams of its generation. But transitioning over, through WWE into Impact Wrestling, during the pandemic, there was a time with no fans, and you were kind of in the midst of that within your time of WWE and also coming to Impact. Was that a transition as well for you, having no fans in attendance and then kind of coming back to that?
different for one at WWE. It was different. It was more of a live action, like it was filming a TV show or filming a movie. You do it at breaks, cut. All right, now you're going to this scene. Blah blah blah. Okay, cool. But then when I got here to Impact Wrestling, it was different because here I am trying to become who I envision Steve Maclin is, and we feed off the crowd, and that's the number one thing that was missing at that time during the COVID and the pandemic, is not having a crowd. And that's where we get our energy. And that's how I can listen and feel and start to think, okay, this works, this doesn't work. And we didn't have that at that time. So it was very awkward for me at first when I first got to Impact to debut without any fans, to try to have that energy, to try to bring something to life in me that I didn't know was there. And then after Slammiversary over a year ago, that's when we started having fans come in. And it was good to start to feel that and kind of see what fans were thinking or like liking that I was doing or not liking that I was doing.
And during your time in Impact, you've had some banger matches, a lot of them actually. Is there anyone on the roster that you choose as a top prospect for yourself to face if you haven't already?
Josh Alexander.
And
Josh, I think that's the match that's been building, and people are secretly or quietly, but starting to now speak about that they want to see. And that's the match I want, because he is the world champion. Like I said earlier, I hope he holds on to that title.
Yeah. And, you know, Impact has an innate ability to provide opportunity, but also present consistency within wrestling, you know, not to mention breaking boundaries with the knockouts division and the different match types. What about Impact to you stands out the most amongst the other places?
Freedom towards the talent. I know it varies everywhere. I know everybody. I haven't been to AEW obviously, so I don't know. But I've had my experience with WWE. And when you're figured in, you kind of have a little bit of say here and there to go to creatively and gain that trust and build those relationships. And I think that's the one thing I've had here in Impact that's different, is a lot of the coaches and producers in the back have a good working relationship with the talent, and we're able to bounce ideas off and kind of figure things out. And that's the one thing I've actually enjoyed, love the opportunity for. Yeah.
And last year I had the opportunity to sit down and chat with Wesley Blake, and we discussed, potentially a few Forgotten Sons reunion, sort of say elsewhere, maybe even Impact Wrestling. He was kind of keen on the idea, but being that you are by yourself now with no, tag teams, things like that, it's good to have someone you can trust and have your back. And it seems like he is the guy to do that. Would a team or a tag team run with Blake be something you'd like to see eventually in Impact?
Oh yeah. I would love to be standing there again, in the corner, looking at him, holding that tag rope, which nobody does. But yeah, it's one of those things where if it happens, it happens. We both had that discussion when I got to Impact and for what I'm doing right now. And he supports me and I support him in whatever he does. But if it was to happen, it's going to happen. You never know in wrestling. Everything changes all the time. Everything's changing in every company right now. So
yeah, And something that something noteworthy about Impact as well is their use of intergender wrestling. Would a tag team match with you and Deonna be intriguing to you down the road?
If it works in the storyline, yeah, we both have our different ways. We're very separate in like identity of characters. She's the virtuosa, and I'm Maclin. I come out, and I'm mayhem itself. So if it works in a storyline, yes. And we've talked about it too. Would we work together? Yeah, but only if it fits the story and where we're going and it makes sense. And that's the one thing that for her and I, we like things to make sense and not to just do it to do it.
And earlier this year, I had, again, the opportunity to chat with Deonna, and her being a Jersey girl, me being a Jersey boy as well, living here now, actually. We kind of talked about what are some great moments or things that, wrestlers that came from Jersey. And I figured I'd ask you the same question. Do you have any favorite wrestling moments that came, either from New Jersey or wrestlers that came from New Jersey?
Moments. I got my start in in Jersey at the Monster Factory. That's kind of those moments. Got to wrestle in Asbury Park, was a good one. We had an NXT road loop down there once, and it was fun to wrestle there. I had a few of my buddies from growing up that we all used to go to the Continental Airlines Arena to see house shows or Raw and SmackDown. So it was cool to like kind of have them come watch me do what I do, and it's full circle and how we went from little kids beating the crap out of each other in the backyard and jumping off the garage like Mick Foley to actually sitting there with my parents and watching me wrestle. So those are those good moments.
And for all the fans listening and watching, one, what could they expect from Steve Maclin at Victory Road, and from there? And also, where can the fans find you on social media if they want to hear more from you or follow you?
All right, so Victory Road, what to expect? The unexpected, I guess. I'm one that puts my body on the line no matter what I do. Like I said earlier, I'm going into the ring with 2 former world champions, and that's my goal, is to beat 2 former world champions. And what better way than Barbed Wire Massacre, which can be brutal. There's going to be blood. There's going to be bodies flying. I promise you that. Probably mine. Yeah, that's my goal right now, and that's where my head's at, is on Victory Road, September 23rd. And other than that, after that, we'll see. But you can follow me on social media at Instagram, Steve Maclin, and on Twitter. I have my pro wrestling store, Steve Maclin, and Shop Impact as well for merchandise.
Awesome, man. Steve, I want to thank you for your time. Your name has been on my list of people to chat with for quite some time, so I'm grateful, for the opportunity. And thanks for all you've done for your country, but also your efforts in pro wrestling. I always like to give people their flowers, while we can. And hopefully we can do this down the road again.
Sure will.
Absolutely. And you can, for all those listening and watching, you can catch Steve Maclin at all of Impact Wrestling in Nashville, September 23rd and 24th, including Victory Road on Friday the 23rd. And check out Bound for Glory on Friday, October 7th in Albany, New York. And again, Steve, thank you for your time. And down the road, hope to do this again.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
And before you go, please like, subscribe, and check out more wrestling content right here on the Angle Podcast.